mentioned about the kids and sometimes they're having a difficult time at home. One of the things that we're doing with the center is we have partnered with one of a faith-based organization called Compassion International. And they have decided to address some of the needs of some of their supporters who are dealing with food insecurities. Apparently, the research says now before Corona, the COVID-19 situation, there were probably about 12 million students in America that were dealing with food insecurities. And now after the coronavirus hit, there's about 19 million kids who are dealing with food insecurities. And so what they're going to do is partner with some of their churches. They're in the process of doing the beta testing, and they will provide food at several locations that the local churches will be distributing to those communities. They're partnering with large churches initially to try to get the logistical support they need to make this work. And then we, the Red Cross, in most disasters, we have something called a ERB, or emergency vehicle response. And we deliver food, hot food, to areas that probably have a difficult time getting to the main distribution site. So we're going to be partnering with them in the next couple of months to distribute food in some areas that are experiencing food insecurity. So that's one partnership that we're involved with. But in addition to that, if a mother or father or someone called in and they said they're having some difficulty with their children, then right away we have a number of resources that we can reach out to and refer the families to. We're not providing direct food at this time because of the scope of this, but we have a number of community partners that could possibly facilitate that. And so we're just basically connecting people with resources as we recognize them.
And how does that address emotional difficulties and challenges other than food?
Well, everyone who's on the call, the mental health folks, are licensed professional. So if someone was dealing with depression, obviously we can't do any significant therapy over the phone, but we can do initial screening. We can address the immediate concerns. And once we've sort of stabilized that conversation, then now we can find out, okay, what are you able to access? And then we can sort of say, hey, here's a local number of a organization in your area or near you that might be able to follow up with you. And so we can pass that information on to them. So hopefully they can get the mental health or spiritual care or health services resources that would best fit their needs.
I was curious about, you had mentioned Parkland School. I actually ran an education committee over there with our chamber, and I was very familiar with the school. I lived in that area. Did you actually go and respond at the shooting and talk about how I think you started using tapping at that time?
Yes. So my position with the Red Cross is the regional disaster spiritual care advisor. My boundary ends just right before you get to Parkland. So I was put on standby. And they basically had a lot of folks who came in to provide assistance. At that time, I was just learning about EFT, and I had read in some of the literature about an organization that did introduce EFT to the Sandy Hook school shooting victims. And so I contacted them and I said, hey, are you aware of the Parkland school shooting? They said, yes, we are. One of our trainers will be there. She's going to be teaching the mental health workers this modality called EFT. Would you like to attend the workshop? And I said, of course I would. And so I was able to go to the workshop that was offered to 61 mental health providers who responded to the Parkland school shooting. These were guidance counselors or counselors with the local mental health agencies in that particular area. And it was an opportunity for them to learn about a quick, effective, evidence-based tool that might be of help to them personally for self-care, as well as with working with the clients that we're seeing. And so it was a wonderful experience. The whole process for me was about 13 months. every 2 months, Dr. Lori Layden would fly back in, have a 2-day workshop. And so I was able to participate as one of the students in that class. But interestingly, less than a year later, I was in Santa Fe, Texas for the Santa Fe school shooting. And so some of the lessons that I learned there as a result of Parkland, I was able to apply and share with some of my colleagues and some of the folks that we were working with.
That's great. Yeah, I was introduced to tapping, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or 9 years ago, Nick Ortner or something. So I know it's very useful and simple, actually. So that's great.
Very simple. And actually, that was in 2017 that I became aware of this wonderful tool. And since then, it's been recognized by the Department of Veteran Affairs, as well as the American Psychological Association, as a evidence-based tool. And so in January, I was able to share EFT with veterans at a local VA facility as a peer support. It was something that I used, and so I was able to use it with my fellow veterans. And in addition to that, I also use it with first responders. I'm a chaplain at a local fire department in my area as well. And so it's a wonderful self-care tool. It's a tool that helps one to remain regulated in the midst of critical incidents. And it's also the tool that I use with middle and elementary school kids as well.
Yeah, I love it. It's very simple and it's actually kind of fun. So great. It's so nice that it's evolved to where it is now, because it started out years ago. Fantastic chaplain.
Yeah, it's been around for about 40 years, my understanding. And it was, it's been around for a while, but we didn't always have the research to show how effective it was. We had a lot of anecdotal information. And really, that's how I learned about its effectiveness. I read Nick's book, watched the video, and I had a problem with insomnia. And so I tapped on the insomnia, and, my second day, I've been sleeping like a rock ever since.
That's awesome. I love it. So you also have a program with other chaplains that you're going to be expanding this understanding of EFT. Is that correct?
Yes. So we are hopeful. We just submitted a proposal to the chaplains with the Detroit Police Department. It is being introduced to them as a self-care tool for dealing with critical incidents. And so we're hopeful that we can develop a collaboration with them, myself and several of my colleagues, and hopefully it'll provide them with additional tools that will hopefully, help them to be more effective in the work that they're called to do.
And do you have something like this going on at schools? Is there programs that's getting this out in schools where these children are dealing with their challenges?
Well, there are individual practitioners all over the country, and I know many of my colleagues have reached out individually to schools, but it's not a nationwide push yet. I'm hopeful that because of these uncertain times that we're living in, that more schools will welcome evidence-based tools such as tapping as resources, both for the staff, the teachers who, obviously, if the students are stressed out, then it's going to have an impact on the teachers eventually. So I think it's a great modality. I have been using it in the schools in my area for the last 3 years. And so I'm hopeful that going forward, and by the way, I just thought about it. In 2018, I also introduced it to school mentors in the Manatee County school system, and it was well received. So I'm hopeful that will spread and other opportunities will present itself.
Well, this has been wonderful, and I'm so sorry we've run out of time. So we'd love to have you on the show again, and let our listeners know where they can find you.
The American Red Cross in Sarasota is probably the best place, but I have a Facebook blog called Chaplain's Log, Chaplain's Log, CHAPLAIN LOG, and I use that to advertise or to advocate for trauma-informed schools. And a lot of times I'll have best practices from around the country and also information about EFT. I don't have a website at the moment, but we're working on that
perfect.
as well.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. And to our listeners, thank you for listening, and be sure to listen the next time. Thanks for tuning into our show on societybitesradio.com. Don't worry if you've missed a show. You can find them all on our website at SarasotaHolisticChamberofCommerce.com.